Episode 167, IRONMAN 7.3, Cozumel with Bruno. Welcome to the pursuit of the perfect race. I'm Coach Terry Wilson, and with each episode, I bring stories of athletes to you that share their experiences at races in order for you to learn how to have your perfect race. We will hear stories from athletes of all ages, abilities, and races of all distances. So regardless of where you fit in, there's something in it for you. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now let the pursuit begin. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pursuit of the Perfect Race. Today I have the pleasure of talking with returning guest, Coach Bruno Martins out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Today we're going to be talking about his recent race at IRONMAN 7.3 Cozumel. This race took place on September 30th, 2018, where he had a time of 4 hours, 31 minutes, and 42 seconds, which allowed him to place second in his division. Welcome back to the show. I look forward to hearing about your race experience at Cozumel.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure talking with you, and thank you again for the opportunity. I had a blast. It was a really fun race, harder than what I had anticipated, so also a learning experience, but we'll get there later.
Nice. So we talked about your last race and then going into this race a little bit. So how have you been since you did Ohio?
Good, but also a little more relaxed. Since I've met my goal in Ohio, I allowed myself to relax a little bit, but maybe that's why I hurt a little on my performance. But overall, really good. Stayed healthy and no major issues. So
nice. So going into this race, how was your training coming off of Ohio, then going into this race?
I took maybe 2 days of really light and just barely any exercise because I have a 7-hour drive from Ohio to Chattanooga. So the day after, so that day was pretty much null. I just ran a 25-minute really easier run, and then I sat on the car for a long time. Then the day after, I went straight to work, and I actually did a spin class as my workout and resumed the Wednesday after Ohio, and pretty much went back to my full schedule and doing everything like I normally do.
Wow. So as far as going into this race, that's a 70.3, and Ohio was a 70.3. How did you differentiate your training a little bit, knowing that this course is going to be really flat, saltwater swim, and you're going to be battling a little bit of wind, and you don't really get that kind of conditions in Chattanooga?
So that's exactly what I did differently. So I tried to use some of the hills we have and the climbs we have around Chattanooga to try to simulate the windy conditions, but it's not the same, and you just use what you have. So I tried to do my best, and on the bike, that's pretty much what I did. And experience has shown me that, for example, on the run, I do better on hillier courses than flat courses, and I have not yet found the reason why for that, but those were the only difference I did. So I didn't change much on my running, but I did change the approach on my bike.
Okay. Now, I know last time you mentioned how you had your life, work, and training balance going, and it seemed to be going really well last time. Did that change at all going into this race?
Actually, it worked even better. The reason why, so I got to qualify for Nice 2019 in Ohio for the World Championship. And so that kind of removed a little bit the pressure on my training for Cozumel. The reason why is Ohio was my B race and Cozumel was supposed to be my A race. So Ohio I took as a test to see where I was and to sharp some of the edges of rougher spots, but ended up going really well. So I got my slot in Ohio. So I allowed myself to relax a little bit, and I actually did enjoy some good quality time with my family, and it was really good.
Nice. So I know last time you mentioned doing a few key workouts going into Ohio 70.3. What workouts did you do that were key workouts going into Cozumel?
So those key workouts were on my bike. I did a couple indoor, and leading into this race, I pretty much once a week I had a designated session of just pretty much hill climbing or hill repeats, and I felt really good. I'm not disappointed, but I know I can do better. But again, on race day, you also need to play really smartly your cards, and that's kind of what I try to do. But I think I was a little too cautious on the bike. But well, another good experience, I guess.
Right. Now, as far as your preparation to go down to Cozumel, what was the most hours you trained in 1 week, you think?
Leading to Cozumel, I don't know, but maybe 13 hours, I think 16 hours was the week with the highest volume leading into Cozumel. And then I had a week of 14, a week of 12, and the week prior to the race, I think I averaged another 11 something hours.
So the week of the race, are you having...
The week prior to race, excuse me.
Okay. And then the week of the race, are you doing like more rest days to kind of...
Yes, and since it was a race also that required flying, that turns into a big ordeal, at least for the time's sake. So I ended up losing one full day of workouts, but I think I still put on, I want to say 5 or 6 hours, not really intense, but just working on keeping the body sharp and ready to perform.
Okay. So now whenever you start wanting to go into this race, knowing that it's going to be in Cozumel versus Chattanooga, how did you get yourself and your bike down to Chattanooga?
So from Chattanooga to Cozumel?
Yes. How did you? Dang, I'm stuck in this game. So how did you get to How did you get from Chattanooga down to Cozumel? All these.
Okay, gotcha. So I drove we are about 2 hours from the Atlanta airport. So I drove to Atlanta the day before my flight, because the flight was really early in the morning, about 7 in the morning. And it's really, so they require you to be there about 2 to 2.5 hours. And since it's not the first time I fly with my bike, I always allow myself a little more time to make sure that they get enough time to process and ship the bike as well. We ended up spending the night in Atlanta, and then from Atlanta we flew to Miami straight to Cozumel.
Wow. So as far as your bike, did you check your bike as just another piece of luggage?
Yeah, I have a Thule transporter case that I use for every time I do international races, or even if I go on vacation and take my bike with me. So everything went really smooth, had no problems, no issues.
Okay. So whenever you actually got down to Chattanooga, dang, when you got down to Cozumel, man, these C words, I'm telling you. So when you got down to Cozumel, how was the location there for you? I'm assuming that you speak some Spanish?
Yeah, I'm Portuguese, but I do speak fluent Spanish, so it was actually a treat for me.
Nice. So
yeah.
You got to dust the rust off a little bit.
Yes, that was awesome.
Nice. So As far as getting a rental car, driving down there, did you have any issues?
No, we planned everything. We actually had a shuttle waiting for us that took us straight to the hotel. And then from the hotel to the swim start, you can actually run or bike. There's pretty much a bike lane. It's a two-way road, but one of the ways is turned into a bike lane. So it was really easy to go back and forth, even to do like those small sessions before race. Everything was really nice. I have no complaints. Everything was really nice.
Cool. So how was the local food there? Did you have to make any adjustments of what to eat, what not to eat while you're there?
So I'm vegetarian. So that kind of gives me some advantage in a sense that I'm not too worried with the type of fish or with the type of meat that I'm going to eat. So I just pretty much kept my same diet and cut my fiber. So I stopped eating salads on Friday. So I didn't touch any type of like fiber from Friday until race day. So it was easy adjustment for me.
Okay. Now, as far as the check-in process at the expo here, what was this like in comparison to other venues you've seen?
So it was interesting, and I'm thankful that I speak at least some Spanish and I can communicate, because not everything was super clear, and so there was so many lines and makes things way more complicated. So in the States, normally all the races you have one main table where you fill your waiver, and then first come, first serve, and you just get a volunteer that takes care of you. In their case, they had several booths, and they were breaking that in bib numbers. So if you were, let's say, 1 to 200, you would go to booth 1 and so forth. So that was a little complicated, because you had booths completely empty, and then some of the ones that should be eventually faster. So if you have a priority check-in because you are all-world athlete, it's one of the benefits. You should be able to just go in and pretty much no hassle. And in that case was the line with the longest amount, or the most amount of people. So that was a little messy. Then you go from one booth to another booth to get your chip. Then you need to go to another booth to get your backpack. I purchased the VIP access for my wife to wait on by the finish line. And so then I needed to go into another booth just for that. So, they could make things a little bit simpler, but again, it is what it is. I guess it's also part of the culture. I don't know.
Okay. Now, as far as the VIP, looking back on it before we get too far ahead, do you feel like that was worth it for her?
So, a side note, in Cozumel, you need to be prepared for, in a period of 4.5 hours, to get blasting heat, wind, rain, sunshine, you name it. Like in a 4-hour period of time, that's exactly what happened. So the VIP venue looked really nice. Everything was really cool, but it wasn't protected from the elements. So you wouldn't be protected from the rain. So that's the only thing that she wasn't too happy about. But they had several chefs preparing meals, and she's all about guacamole, so she had her fix.
You like guacamole?
I love it.
Okay, just make sure we're good now. Okay. Okay, so glad the VIP was worth it, and they had good guacamole, hopefully.
Yeah.
So as far as the check-in process, they had long lines, lots of different booths, and not everybody spoke English. How was the transition set up?
So something that they do, and I don't know exactly why they do it, but I think it's actually cool because imagine you go to a race and you get in with a set of Zips 808, and then you might come in out of transition with some aluminum rims. Makes sense. So something that they did was you were forced to take a photo with your numbers. So with your bib number already marked on your skin, identified with the chip, and with your bike. So then you can make proof of if something happens, okay, this is how I check in and now this is what I'm checking out. So that was really cool. The security, it was unbelievable. I have no complaints. Everything was well prepared, I want to say. Besides the fact of in the athlete guide, if you read the athlete guide and if you follow what they say on the athlete guide, you'll be doing some of the things maybe wrong. So I highly recommend people that if you want to do that race, go to the briefing and ask your questions, because what the athlete guide said and what reality was, there was some slight difference, but
What do you know there was a difference?
So they say that on the athlete guide, you need to have all your bike gear, run gear dropped the day before. And in reality, that wasn't the case. So they weren't prepared to collect any of the bike gear the day before. So then we went from transition or T1 into the briefing closer to T2. And that's when they were saying, oh, no, you actually don't need to follow all of that. You just bring your stuff in the morning. We don't want your stuff to get wet. And okay, you at least could have said that in the athlete guide. But again, those are small details that might seem a little annoying at first, but it is what it is. On race day, you just need to adapt, I guess.
And this isn't your first time doing a split transition race either.
No, this was actually my third time. So both Augusta, Ohio, and Cozumel have split transitions.
Okay. Now, as far as the day before the race, you were checking your bike and all this fun stuff. Did you notice anything that was peculiar about this race setup that is different than Ohio?
Yes, so at least the line of communication and what I mean transportation, it was way more efficient. So they have the roads closed to any type of traffic, and you could only use their shuttle system. So that was actually really nice. They were on time. And from the hotel to the T1 or race start, it was literally like a 10-minute drive and then walk. So as opposite with Ohio, where I sat on the bus for over 45 minutes.
I was going to make that. I was going to be like, well, this is getting where they were going.
Yeah. No, those would be some of the, for example, advice or recommendation for even Ohio is at least block one of the lines or the lanes of traffic to give priority to people using the shuttle system, because we are trusting the team that organizes the race that, okay, so if you're providing this service, it's supposed to be effective. And in Ohio, it didn't work that well. So going into Cozumel, I allowed even more time, and I took the first shuttle available at 5 a.m. And then I actually just waited for a long time until race start, because everything went really smooth. Everything was on time. So I was pleased with that.
Did you ask the bus driver if he knew where he was going before you got on?
All the buses were like well identified with destination and drop off locations. So even to go back to the hotel, there was only a specific bus that would stop at my hotel and so forth. So I was happily pleased with that.
Okay. Now, the day before the race, are you doing anything from a nutrition standpoint to prepare you to start actually getting prepared for the race and topping off like your electrolytes, carbs, or anything like that?
Yeah, so I think I drank maybe 3 liters of Gatorade. That's what I use. So I use Gatorade, the regular formula you can get over the counter. So I think I got about 3 liters of Gatorade. I also got some water just to kind of not get too loaded with Gatorade. But yeah, I love day before race because breakfast is a feast for me. I allow myself to have pancakes, eggs, even if I'm craving some type of pastry that's not like over the top, I'll do it. So I had a really good day. Then I start tapering. So breakfast will be my largest meal. I have a solid lunch, but then for supper, it's something really light. I don't carb load before, but it works for me.
Okay, now, you're not the first one that I've heard to do this taper nutrition throughout the day, and for the people that do execute a taper nutrition plan the day before, it seems like the correlation is that translates to a better race day.
For me, change the way I race. So until I start feeling bad with this process, I will not change it.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to change that. It seems like it's a good plan to keep in place. I wouldn't change that at all. What time did you want to get in bed the night before the race?
I try to be, doesn't mean that I need to be asleep, but I want to be in bed between 7:30 and 8 p.m. I want to be at least in the bedroom, ready to just start chilling, and definitely no later than 9. And 9 is already pushing a little bit.
Okay, so what time did you get up on race day?
I normally try to get up around 4, and it all depends the time that will take. Since the shuttle was just at 5, so 1 hour, because I was prepared to just have breakfast and pretty much leave. So 1 hour was more than enough for me, but depending if I need to drive, let's say 30 minutes to the race site or an hour, I might need to get up earlier. But since the shuttle was at the hotel at 5 in the morning, I got up at 4. I was done with breakfast by 4:20, and then I was just trying to make sure that everything was working with me, and allow enough time to do human business.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, for breakfast, what are you doing for breakfast?
So I don't do anything crazy. I drink again, electrolyte drink. I use Gatorade. So I drank some Gatorade. I had a banana, and I think I had a boiled egg to get some protein, and maybe like they had those small pastry type of thing, like those croissant without any like filling or sugar. So I think I had 2 of those, a banana. I don't drink coffee besides race day. So I also had coffee to make sure that I was functioning right. And I think that was about it.
Okay. So just get things going on race day.
Yeah.
Now, whenever you actually get down to transition, what are you doing in transition before you actually get on the race course?
So it rained a lot the night before. So I don't completely empty the air of my tires, but I do bring the pressure a little bit lower, maybe to a 60 psi. So I just allowed myself enough time to pump the tires. I normally use wax on my chain, but still with the amount of rain that came down and even having some plastic wrap around the chain, I noticed some rusty spots. So they had some mechanical teams that they helped me with that. They just greased the chain, pumped the tires, and then I just pretty much set my transition, my shoes, my socks and helmet, made sure that everything was ready to go, put all my morning clothes in a bag and dropped that off. And then I was just literally just walking around trying to stay active and not overdoing anything, but I didn't want to sit too much and then start getting like lazy on my legs. And so just some active, dynamic type of warm up.
Okay. Now, after you get down to the swim start area, what was the temperature of the water this day?
I think it was right at 84.
Wow, that's warm.
So it was really warm.
Almost like Ohio.
Yeah.
Man, because that was a warm race too, wasn't it?
It was.
So are you using a swim skin still?
I did. I used my Roca and worked really well.
Okay. So before you actually get down into the swim wave here, is this a wave start or is this a rolling start? What does this look like?
So it's a rolling start, and they do have curls of people with. So you should be honest. That's another thing. Sometimes people is not honest about their swim time, and that just brings the swim experience down to everybody involved. Because if you are a really faster swim and if you have somebody that's really slow, one of the two or even the two will get hurt because you'll get punched, you'll get kicked, and it's just not a fun experience. And that's kind of what happened. So I was in the 27 to 29 minutes and I was expecting to swim a little bit faster, being salted water. I was expecting to swim a solid 27. But the course was really crowded with like bunch of people, so like packs of 10 to 15 people, and I tried to swim through one of them and didn't work well for me. So then when I got up to the second one in front, I took a different approach, so it took me a little longer, but I just swam around them, and at least I was able to keep my goggles and keep swimming. So, but on a good note, the swim is beautiful. There's an enclosure that you need to walk through the enclosure with some dolphins, and before they start the race, the dolphins start doing the spins off the water while you're waiting right next to you. That thing was the highlight of my day, made my day. It was awesome.
So whenever you're swimming, after your swim gets going and you're in the water, I know Cozumel has jellyfish. I had a guy on here that got stung by a jellyfish during the Fool, and this is in the same place as the Fool is.
Correct.
Did you know that there were jellyfish there? Did you take any precautions to maybe not get stung by jellyfish, or were you just hoping and praying that you didn't get stung? What was this like?
Yeah, so I think I got stung right on my lip because I felt the burn, and I actually developed some type of a sore that wasn't there, but I felt the sting like when I was swimming. So I didn't see it, to be honest, so I can't say that that's exactly what happened. But yeah, by the end of the race, I had a sore, but it wasn't too bad, honestly. So I don't recall seeing anybody mentioning any problems with jellyfish. So I just try not to think too much about it because then I start panicking and just ruins my focus.
Okay. Now, the water here is really clear. I mean, you kind of alluded to that a minute ago, but it's really clear. Can you see the bottom?
You can see everything.
Wow.
Yeah. So the water is really clear, but by the time you start, and it was raining before, so it wasn't yet sunshine. It wasn't like beautiful, like blue day. So it was kind of a little overcast. It was raining when we started the swim. So you could see the bottom, but it wasn't that like blue crystal clear water. Makes sense? So you still can see all the way down to the bottom, but it's not that amazing experience that you would be maybe like putting in your head. Another thing is now you imagine, I don't know, 2,500 people kicking on the water. So you still see the bottom while you're swimming, but if you try to look up a little bit, the only thing you'll see is bubbles from all the kicking. But yeah, I did see one diver. At least that was the only one I paid attention. Right next to one of the buoys, there was a diver at the bottom of the ocean. So that was cool.
How deep is it?
I want to say maybe 20-something, 30 feet.
No, that's not deep
If
at all.
so, yeah, I know.
Wow. So, as far as the swim goes, is there anything you just want to be aware of that hasn't done a saltwater swim in the ocean like this? Hey, everybody, I just want to say thank you for listening to the podcast, and I just want to let you know that I've enjoyed having so many people on this show, and I couldn't really do it without your support. Thank you so much for tuning in, listening, and being a part of what I'm doing. If you would, take a few moments to leave me a review over on iTunes. It would help me out tremendously, and enjoy the show. Wow. So, as far as the swim goes, is there anything you just want to be aware of that hasn't done a saltwater swim in the ocean like this?
No, the swim, just be honest. Just be honest. If you are a 35-minute swimmer, you might be able to do it in 33, maybe 34, but you're not doing the swim in 25 minutes. So you are just potentially harming yourself because you are going to get run over several times, and instead of 35 you might end up with a 40-minute swim. Other than that, the water was really calm. There was barely any undulation, if any at all. So yeah, just don't swallow too much.
All right. And the salt water here is very salty. It's not like the brackish water in Galveston or even Maryland. This is real salt water.
Yes. Yeah.
So did they have showers for you to rinse off?
Yes. So there was a big tent that you are literally forced to run into. So as you run into T1, you are kind of channeled into this tent where there's several like jets of water sprinkling the water over you. But if you want to take something like, if you want to really take your time, I think there was a couple hoses that you could use. I just ran through and was enough. So I just put my head up to kind of wash the salt out of my face, and that's it. I just kept running.
Wow. So you get out on a bike. How does the execution of T1 go for you?
It went really smooth, besides the fact you want to get to your transition and you are all soaked wet and you expect a nice, clean pair of socks. And they were soaked wet. Your shoes were soaked wet. The helmet was soaked wet. Because it was rained overnight, but then also rained during the start. So when I left the water, it wasn't raining anymore, but right before the swim starts, rained heavy actually. So that was the only thing, like slow down a little bit because both my feet and the socks were wet. And for 70.3, I do use the socks more so for the run than for the bike. But if I'm going to lose the time, I prefer losing the time on the bike than on T2 for the run.
And that makes sense because can always have a faster T2 time. So with this course, it's known for being really flat and really windy, and sometimes, just like in your case, it's known for having the rain, the wind, and the sun all within the same time period. How did you prepare for this mentally?
I was like, God, I'm ready, so bring it on.
Wow.
Bring it on. It's party time.
Man. So did you have a goal power or RPE or heart rate or any kind of metric you want to look at while you're on the bike course?
Yeah, so I was expecting to have a normalized power of 240, and I was a little short of that. I was at 227. And I don't know exactly why. I don't know if I wasn't feeling comfortable enough to push the power, afraid of harming my run. I don't know if it was the conditions that didn't allow me to get to that point. So I honestly, I don't have a good reason. Just didn't happen.
Okay. Now, how far out from the race do you do an FTP test to kind of get an idea of what power numbers you're going to want on race day?
So I was using basically the same numbers that I was aiming for Ohio. Because I tried to, in the past, do a FTP, even during like my build season, or even like when I'm trying to peak to see where I'm at. And the fatigue was so high that my power numbers dropped significantly. So, what I did this time, I think, was maybe 6-7 weeks, prior Ohio. That's when I did my FTP, and I just used the same because the races were so close to allow some recovery on my body and then keep the momentum going for Cozumel. Personally, didn't make sense for me to redo the test.
Okay. So your FTP going into this race was what?
My FTP is 304.
Wow. That's great. I'll get there one day. One day. So as far as your strategy for this course, being that you're going to have to be on the pedals the whole time and there's really no hills here, how did you kind of change your approach of how you wanted to go into this bike course versus Ohio? Because Ohio has some rolling hills versus here, it's mostly flat.
Yeah, so my Garmin got 580 feet of elevation gain. So there's not a lot of climbs. There's actually no climbs. The only thing you'll get is maybe a bump on the road here and there, but it's nothing significant. So my approach was pushing a lower RPM on the protected area, so pushing a little more power there, and then try to ease in with a higher cadence on the windy sections. I felt good, but I don't know if it was the right thing to do. I don't know if I felt that I could eventually push a little more power, even on the windy sections. But I was afraid of, I don't want to say afraid. I was just trying to be protective of myself.
So with having no wind versus wind and doing the higher and lower cadence, how did you come to this understanding of doing higher cadence in the wind and lower cadence not in the wind?
It's just based on my experience on cycling and knowing how I react to that type of environments. So in Portugal, I was actually, there's only one way. You go with a headwind or you come with a tailwind, period. So every ride you do, there's always a head and a tailwind. We're right by the ocean. So I'm used to wind, but that's not the reality for the past 7 years. So, Honestly, that's what I was used to, but I'm no longer used to that. So that's what I'm saying. Right now, I feel more comfortable, for example, doing some rolling hills. I think I benefit more from a course with some rolling hills because, I'm heavier. So I can also push a little more power. I have that advantage. And, I don't know, wind just beats you up more than a climb, in my opinion.
Well, I agree with that. At Cozumel, not Cozumel, man, I am getting these cities mixed up. At Galveston this year, it was a headwind for 28 miles back. I don't know if you've done Galveston or not, but
No, no.
it's out and back 28-mile course. You go out 28 miles, you come right back on the same road. I mean, yeah, it's in some parts it's not a 2-lane road; it's a 4-lane, and it was a mental beatdown for 28 miles. I mean, you're literally in the headwind by yourself, and this year it was cool. It was, I think, in the 40s on the while I was on the bike, and you get off, and it is like freezing hands, freezing everywhere, and you're just cold. And I can completely agree with you on the whole wind is harder than heels, because at that point, if you had heels, you can rest on the downhills.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's kind of the difference between an average power and a normalized power. I can even go and try to see on my Garmin, but I think they are pretty much the same. That just tells you that there's very little rest. And I think the only rest I got was just getting in 2 or 3 like bigger turns towards the end of the course. Because other than that, you don't stop pedaling once. You're always pedaling. So, that's why I was expecting a little higher numbers in the 240s. But again, you never know. You never know.
Right. So as far as the bike course goes, did you have enough time to get what you needed at the aid stations and discard what you didn't need?
Yes. They are awesome. So they also recognize the difficulties of the island and the climb. So they have normally on a 70.3 in the States, you might have 3 aid stations on the bike course. They had, I want to say, like 5 or 6.
Wow.
So one of them were like, because you go 4 or 5 miles down, then you turn around, so you get to pass that same aid station twice. But still, I never felt that I was, if I needed to get just one bottle per aid station, I could almost do that. I will not recommend it, but it was really comfortable. They were really nice. They actually have plastic bottles, like water bottles, like you buy at a store, where you can remove the top. A true water bottle for a bike,
Wow.
with water. So they have those, and they also have regular, like over-the-counter Gatorade endurance that you could choose, and those also fit really well on your bottle cages. So yeah, I did end up getting 5 bottles, so I had 3 with me. So I got 2 Gatorades and 1 bottle of water. So
Okay.
it was hot and humid and rainy and windy. Yeah, it was all of that.
So knowing that it's windy, did you make any adjustments from using your disc and 808? Did you go with shower wheels, or did you just roll with the disc and the 808?
I use the set of 808s because disc wheels are forbidden by their like wording in the athlete guide. Disc wheels are actually forbidden in that course. You
Wow.
cannot use disc wheels.
Now, as far as the PSI, knowing that it might have a chance of raining on you, did you want to actually go a little bit lower than 100?
No, I actually ran it at 100 because it's not a course with like I mentioned, it's only until you get to the final 10 miles when you get into town again, and then you go a little out and back. There's pretty much no turns. That thing is, it's a straightaway. So you kind of circle around, but there's not a turn. And with that in mind, I still feel that I would benefit off the higher PSI over a lower PSI. And again, I'm a little heavier, so I want to take advantage of that. So
Right.
I still went with my set of 808s and 100 PSI.
Okay. Now, on the bike course, did you see any flats?
I think I passed a couple people on when I was on my out and back. I saw a couple people with flats. Don't ask me how they did it, but the course was clean. The roads were really smooth, so I don't know what happened.
Wow.
I have no idea.
Now, whenever you start thinking of the bike, usually around miles 35, 45, and around 50, a lot of people struggle mentally with, well, you've been on the bike so long, you're not really off, but you're getting closer, and it's harder for people to get through these stages of the bike ride mentally. Did you have any issues?
Honestly, no. I try to break the race into segments that I can think of. So something that I do, I always study the course, and then I try to make a mental note, or even you can even use some paper and tape it on your water bottle or on your handlebar, whatever works for you, and just remind yourself, okay, so at mile 10, there will be the first aid station. Then at mile so-and-so, it's this big turn. And so I just make small goals that I need to, or check marks that I need to get, in order to stay focused. Makes sense? So, once I get to this first aid station, I start looking forward for the second checkpoint, and then I look forward for the third checkpoint, and then I also make notes about my nutrition. Okay, so now it's time to get a little more nutrition. Don't just drink, get something more, whatever works for you. So I don't take the 56 miles as one event. It's a event with several stages, so I just keep like taking one stage at a time, and that helps me mentally.
Well, that's good. Now, as far as the bike ride goes, is there anything you'd want someone to know that hasn't done this bike course before but has done a few other 70.3s?
Definitely be prepared for the wind. Even though it's not my first time riding in windy conditions, I have not been practicing in wind. So it's not that the wind is going to snap your handlebar and you're going to like jump over the front wheel, but you might move 3-4 feet sideways, because when the wind catches you, you are going to move. So just make sure that you're like, I don't want you to lose your nails on the extension bars, but make sure you have a good grip and you're solid. That would be the major concern. Other than that, the roads are really smooth. I enjoy it.
Wow. Now, whenever you start getting ready to get off the bike and get to T2, are you doing anything different to get ready to start running?
Yeah, so normally the last at least half a mile or so, and depending on the course, so the last mile or so in this course, you have 1, 2, 3, you have 4 big turns. I'm talking like 90-degree turns you need to do. So you really need to be on your game, and the course was wet. So what I did, and the good thing is you pass those same turns one time and then you do it again to finish. So you can kind of visualize what's going to happen. But I just start increasing my RPM. So I might go to 100 and something RPMs just to start like forcing like my legs to relax a little bit, and I'm not pushing as much power. And then just do whatever you have been practicing. If you have not practiced leaving your bike with your shoes, you need to figure that out. If you get your feet out of your shoes and then you just jump and start running immediately, that's fine. If you are the type that needs to be, okay, I need to pull to the side and then I step and start walking. So just do whatever you're comfortable with. Don't try to be cool on race day because you saw somebody doing that same thing. Because I actually saw a couple crashes, and
Really?
yes, the reason why is so it's out and back, but then once you pass the exit for transition one time, but you have about 10 more miles that you need to go. So you go 5 miles down, turn around, 5 miles back, and then you're going to merge back with people that's still finishing the first loop. And so that gets a little crowded. And if you're not comfortable and assertive and careful, that's how people crash. So don't try anything new. If you're not experienced jumping, over your bike and start running, don't do it. Stop, because those 3 seconds you're going to make by stopping, you might lose with a crash or hurting yourself or losing a water bottle, and then you're going to go back, grab the water bottle, and that happened to me in the past. So do whatever works for you and whatever you prepared yourself to do. That's my best advice.
Wow. So whenever you actually got to T2, it was a clean actual transition two for you. You're in there under 90 seconds. Quick transition here. And you're out on the run. Walk me through T2 in the first few miles of the run for you.
So, like I mentioned, they requires you to drop the run bag on Saturday. So you need to go Saturday and you need to rack your bag. So your bag is not allowed to be on the floor. So you can't set up transition. You can do any of that. So, you expect to, once you get there on Sunday, and you don't get to go there on Sunday morning. So transition is not open on Sunday morning, T2. So the last time I was on transition, my run bag was on the rack. So I get there, I rack my bike, drop my helmet, my shoes, and I start opening the bag, and the bag has all my wet, like my swim skin, my goggles, and then I start like, oh no, what happened? And then I look down and my bag, my run bag is actually on the floor. So what they did, they took my run bag from the rack and put it on the floor, and my morning day clothes were racked on the rack, if that makes any sense.
The volunteers were probably instructed to take the bags and put them on the ground, and then take the wet clothes and the wet bag and put it on top of that on the hook. That's what it sounds
and
like.
So that kind of, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't aware of that. And that got me a little like, I got lost for like trying to open the bag that was around the rack. And so you're trying to take the bag off the rack so you can pull your tennis shoes. And so maybe 10, 15 seconds until I realized that it wasn't the right bag. But then other than that, it was smooth. I got there wasn't many people on transition. So it was a really smooth transition for me. I just rocked my bike, put my shoes, my sunglasses, and I was out. And then I just finished adjusting everything as I'm running out.
Okay. So how's the first few miles of the run course go?
Another thing, so you go 5K out, 5K back, 5K out, 5K back to the finish. So you do 2 loops around. And the first 5K was really good. I was like actually trying to control myself because I was feeling good. And I'm like, okay, I feel good. Let me go. And maybe I can make some time here. But I just forced myself to stay on track with my goals. And, um, everything went well until mile 8. And I figured it out why. So I skip nutrition twice during the run. And at mile 8, I just literally felt I'm empty. So when I got my nutrition was already a little bit too late. So it took me a little while to start going, but ended up finishing was actually one of my slowest runs, if not my slowest run. Um, Definitely the slowest run this year for me.
Wow. So whenever you actually think of what this run course looks like, actually paint the picture of what it looks like for me, being that I haven't ever been there.
The course is really nice. It's completely flat. Let's put it that way. Completely flat. So unless you go up and down the sidewalks, you don't get any elevation. So it's completely flat. You start with the ocean on your left, and you have small restaurant shops, and majority of the people, it will be when you start your run, ocean on your left, majority of the people cheering will be on your right side. By the time I did my first loop, there wasn't a lot of people, on the course. And I ran maybe the first half a mile with the guy the pro that won the race, but I didn't have legs to keep up. So I let him go. And it was really fun. By the second loop, the course was way crowded, still with plenty of room for everybody, but more people cheering on you. Was a fun experience.
So whenever you actually got to the run course, it stopped raining?
Actually, didn't rain until the last mile. So I did all 12 miles without any rain. And the last mile, I'm trying to just get a distance, but maybe I can see 25, 50 yards, in front of me because the rain was coming down so heavy. Even if you guys look at the finish line photos, you will see, there was right at the finish line. The rain was so heavy that, you can see. So I actually kept my sunglasses because the rain was hurting, when it hits your face. So, it was a dry run until mile 12 for me.
But you had wet socks on from the bike?
Yes, I was all wet, and it's still very humid, so you sweat a lot. So I drank five something bottles, because one of the bottles I just drank a little bit, and I disposed the bottle still into the aid station. But then I ended up with 3 that I started and 2 more that I replaced, during the course. So I drank a lot. So I sweat a lot. I was soaked wet, during the entire time. But then you dry off the wet clothes off the rain, but then it's wet because of all the sweat. So definitely like my feet, I could hear like the socks were still wet, and you hear the squish of the water.
Wow. So as far as your actual run experience here, it wasn't the best performance, but it by far wasn't the worst.
No, it wasn't the worst, but definitely it wasn't the best, but definitely my worst for this year. I'm talking performance wise, but it also comes on me because like I said, when I started the run, I was actually feeling really good, and I skipped so I drank in every aid station. Another good thing they have is every K, so every kilometer, there's an aid station. So on a 5K, you have 5 aid stations. So for the first, you do one loop, so 6 miles, you get pretty much 10, 8 stations. So that was really nice. I drank a lot, but I didn't get calories to keep running at a faster pace. And I was feeling good, not feeling good. So there was no warning, and that was on me. So it was my fault. I didn't execute the plan. So
as far as the run course goes, is there anything you'd want someone to be aware of that hasn't done the run course here before?
The run course was wet because had rained before but wasn't raining. So that course can be really like hard to run if it's really wet because you have puddles of water everywhere. And when I start going towards the finish line, there was water, up to like, I was literally like stepping my entire foot underwater. So when it rains, that thing floods a little bit. But if it doesn't rain, it's beautiful.
Wow. So whenever you actually got to the finish line, how was the finish line experience here for you?
Really nice. They have a long chute where the first thing you have a volunteer that literally walks with you, and then they put the medal on you. You have the medical tent right at your right-hand side. Then you have some water, I think Gatorade. You walk a little longer, and then you start getting into the area where you have some food. So they had some bananas, some orange, pizza, but I just couldn't eat at that time. So I just drank, but I couldn't eat. I actually got a slice of pizza. I took a bite and I just didn't go down. So I just ended up trashing it, and I hate doing that, but, I just couldn't eat at that time. Another cool thing, they had several ice tubs where you can sit, and I can see the thing becoming really gross. But at the time that I finished was actually not too bad. There was nobody there. So they have those like plastic tubs you can fill, some with just water, some with ice. And so it was just nice. They would just ask you to take your shoes off, and you could go and just chill for a little bit and let the muscles kind of recover. Then you get your finishing t-shirt. You walk out, and there was maybe 30 volunteers doing massages, and that was awesome.
Wow.
That was really nice.
So whenever you actually got done with the race and you look back on it, how hard was this race for you mentally?
Mentally?
Yes, mentally.
Mentally? Again, like, since I had no pressure from coming from Ohio, I was actually really relaxed, and that's maybe why I also relaxed a little bit on my nutrition, and that's why I paid the price on the run. So I was actually really comfortable, never felt threatened or anything. So I was just racing for myself and trying to have a good time, and started with rain. I got some sunshine, a really hot and humid run until the last mile. So it was a fun experience.
Wow. So whenever you think of the entire race course experience for you, how does Cozumel measure up in relation to all the other races that you've done?
There's some good pointers. I don't know. I think every race is so different, because you might go into that race with different goals. So I've done Augusta, and I went to that race with one thing in mind, and then I race Chattanooga and I do that thing with a different goal in mind. So I get to enjoy the race and the course differently, if that makes any sense. So Cozumel was a bucket list type of thing. And also like A B plan in case I wouldn't get it in Ohio was kind of my B plan to get a slot for Nice. So
Nice. So we had talked a little bit about Ironman Ohio 70.3 about how they missed a key moment of a podium. And I remember you sending me a picture of the podium here at Cozumel. Walk me through this.
So if you want to feel like a king, come to Cozumel. It's awesome. They just literally treat you really well. So they take you into a hotel with a conference room, and I didn't realize, but there was a buffet like set up where you could just go and eat whatever you wanted. And then they went through all the awards where they individually call every person to the stage and to the platform, and you just get to enjoy, and you have a room full. I want to say at least 500 people were in that place.
Wow.
The place was packed. So there was, I don't know how many tables, but there was plenty of tables, and there was people surrounding the walls. The place was packed. So it was definitely an experience, and going from placing in Chattanooga and the awards were canceled due to electric storm coming in, where you don't even get the award. The award gets mailed to your house. Ohio was a little disappointing, in my opinion. And then going to Cozumel, that thing is like the cherry on top. It was perfect. I wouldn't change anything.
Wow. So to kind of wrap up here, we've already talked about the entire race pretty much, but do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah. South Americans are fast. Just remind that South Americans are fast. And you also need to have in attention the humidity, the difference in temperature. So make sure that if you want to do that race, even if it's just for fun, make sure that you prepare yourself, because that thing is going to hurt.
Wow. Well, I would like to go ahead and let you give a shout out to how people can follow you and give a plug to your coaching platform, if you want.
Yeah, I appreciate. So I am actually Ironman University certified coach, so you can also find me through Ironman University, through the Ironman website, or you can reach out to me through several ways actually. If you go through Facebook, you can always look for YMCA Precision Endurance. YMCA is my biggest sponsor. I actually work for the Y. I'm a full-time employee. So we kind of partner together on this. And so it's YMCA Precision Endurance, and you can find me on Facebook through YMCA Precision Endurance, or you can go through Instagram. On Instagram, you can find me if you look just for Precision Endurance. Precision Endurance on Instagram, or if you want to reach out to me personally, it's B Martins 03 on Instagram. You can find me, you can find my personal page.
Nice. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for spending some time with me today, Bruno. I've enjoyed hearing about you and your race again, and I've enjoyed catching up. It's been great. To kind of wrap up the episode here, what races are on your bucket list?
So next year, I'm racing Boston Marathon on April 15th. So there will be my first race for the season. Then I'm racing a month later, Chattanooga 70.3, Ironman Chattanooga 70.3. And honestly, paid for that's on my schedule is Nice in September for the World's Championship. So I will try to squeeze something in there either before or after Nice. But for now, I have Boston Marathon, Chattanooga 70.3, and World's Championship for the 70.3.
Wow. When are you going to go back to the full distance?
Maybe in a couple of years.
So with the Boston Marathon, what are your goals there? Just to have fun, or you want to get a good time? What do you want to do there?
Yeah, my goal for Boston will be, and I never do this to either my athletes, but my goal has a big range. So definitely under 3 hours, but the goal is somewhere between 2:45 and no slower than 2:55.
Wow, I feel like you can definitely do that.
Thank you.
Well, good luck, and I only have one more question to conclude the episode, and being that I already know what your definition of a perfect race is, I'll kind of mix things up with a little bit here of, in order of importance for you, what is the most important? Mental grit, nutrition, or fitness?
I think they all are really, or actually a lot correlated, because if you don't have the mental strength, your workouts won't be as effective. If you don't have a good nutrition, you're not going to perform as well. So I think they all combined, they will make the perfect solution, if that makes sense. If you could have the elixir of a perfect race, you would need to combine those three.
Okay. Now, which one's more important to you out of the three?
For me, honestly, I think the first one, the mental one, because I've gone to races where I wasn't prepared well enough and I was able to pull something out because mentally I was stronger. But again, if you lack on your nutrition, you can be really strong, but then you're not able to perform. So actually, I'm not even sure, but I want to say mentally, followed by, I don't know. You got me on this one.
Wow. Well, Bruno, thank you so much. I've enjoyed it, and I look forward to following you at the Boston Marathon, and I will be at the Chattanooga 70.3 next year, towing the line with you. Hopefully, I will have about the same time you had at your slowest race ever, which is probably around 5 hours and 10 minutes, I'd assume. So hopefully I can get around that, and I'll be following you at Nice, and I welcome you back on here next year on any and all of your races to follow your journey along the way and help you grow your platform.
I appreciate. Thank you so much, and thank you for doing all of these for all of us, because we can all learn something from each other. And thank you for putting the time in the work.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate. Thank you.
I'm glad I can do it. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you were able to learn something from today's episode. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to leave a review on iTunes or share it with a friend. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to see pictures from this athlete's race, learn more about who I am, what I'm doing, or be on the show yourself to share your story, check out my website at CoachTerryWilson.com. Until next time, continue the pursuit.